Hey everyone, it's Kong again with another episode of Should You Summon, and as always, I'm going to be presenting high-level overviews to help you decide whether this banner is worth your hard-earned vouchers and crystals. So let's get right into this Raid-Up banner featuring the long-awaited return of the Record of Lodoss War crossover banner featuring Deedlit and Ashram running from March 24th to April 6th. As a Raid-Up banner, you have a 40% chance to get each on-banner character, with the remaining 20% reserved for any other hero in the regular summoning pool. As a crossover banner, there's not going to be any bond implications for these characters, so I'll skip that section. And this is a rerun of a crossover event, which means future availability is very, very unlikely. So far, in the life of this game, they haven't rerun a crossover a second time. There have been several reruns, but there just hasn't been time for any of those reruns to re-rerun. So this is probably the last time we're going to see Deedlit and Ashram, certainly for a long time. Alright, so let's just jump right in. First up, we've got Deedlit. Deedlit is a supportive magical generalist. She was a top-tier unit back when she launched, but she's largely dropped out of common use by now. She's still an excellent utility character that brings a lot of flexibility to your team. Her talent boosts her int and her defense based on how far she moves, and if she ends her turn in the danger zone without doing any damage, then she gets to act again on a cooldown. This is great for moving in, setting up, and rushing an enemy, or even for retreating if you have to. She has access to Gospel, which means you can get away with running her off faction if you have to, especially since her talent can let her self-Gospel and then attack in the same turn. Her signature Sea of Miracles skill heals, removes 2 debuffs, reduces cooldowns, and boosts damage dealt for allies in an area. Her 3-cost skill is an attack that lets her retreat 3 spaces afterwards, also giving her a Forest Aura and post-battle healing. She's a member of Princess Alliance, buffed by Luna, Shelfaniel, and Christiane, Origins of Light, buffed by Dehart, Jugler, and Freya, and Heroes of Time, buffed by Joshua, Angelica, and Yusuke. In PvE, she's on faction for Leviar and Valkyrie in the Eternal Temple, and Needhog and Jormungandr in Ancient Beckoning. She's still a member of the top scoring teams on the Jormungandr leaderboards, so she hasn't completely faded out of favor. In PvP, Deedlit excelled during a magical time when you could reasonably expect to be facing off against Jugler as a main tank. These days, she's more on utility duty, and one of the problems with generalists is that they usually don't excel at anything specific. This means if you want to include her in your box, it's usually at the expense of someone who's very good at a specific task. Now, if that fits your design by giving you a more flexible pick and ban, for example, then that's good. But it may just leave you in a position where you wish you were able to pick a better unit. Next up, we have Ashram. Ashram is a pretty straightforward physical bruiser. His talent boosts his attack and defense for every tile he moves before attacking, and if he has more attack than the enemy, he attacks first. Naturally, this isn't going to come into play against a lot of bosses. One of his skills has a passive self-revive component, which is fine. He can also leverage his high attack stat into a pretty devastating Dragon's Breath AoE if you want to build him that way. His 3-cost skill is a heavy-hitting single-target attack that has no cooldown, but gradually nerfs itself the more times you use it. Nowadays, this kind of big smack often comes bundled with other nice effects, like stripping several buffs. Hello Elwyn, Lewin, Watham, and friends. But Ashram is from a simpler, more innocent time. He's a member of Dark Reincarnation, buffed by Bozel and Licorice, Strategic Masters, buffed by Altamuller and Lanford, and Heroes of Time, buffed by Joshua, Angelica, and Yusuke. In PvE, he's on faction for Leviar and Phoenix in the Eternal Temple, and Fenrir and Sleipnir in Ancient Beckoning, but he doesn't really get to use the enticing part of his talent against bosses because of their inflated attack stats. In PvP, despite his big muscles, he never really made a dent in Apex Arena, and a big part of the reason is because he doesn't perform any of the really desirable PvP tricks. For example, he lacks flexible mobility options, formation disruption, buff removal, any ability to get around guard, and so on. Ares overshadowed him back at launch, and the roster of single-target threats has only increased since then, leaving not much space in a well-designed box for him. Alright, so let's bring up the notes for Noobs. Deedlit is still top tier against Jormungandr, but let's be honest here. The real reason to summon either Deedlit or Ashram at this point is because this is a limited crossover, and since this is already the rerun, they're probably not coming back. If you're a collector, you're not going to want to miss them. If you're a utilitarian who only cares about whether they'll be a good mechanical investment in your gameplay, then you can skip them. Anyway, that's going to be it for this episode, so thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next Should You Summon. Actually, I'll probably catch you in the other Should You Summon that dropped this week with the other banner. I wanted to put them in separate banners just because, since this is a crossover rerun, it's a little bit different, so didn't really work to squeeze everything together in one. So check that one out. There'll probably be a link here, or there, or down there. And extra special thanks, of course, to our Langrisser tier channel members for generously supporting the channel directly. So shout out to these MVPs: Levitt, Derek Gunderson, Kate Soon, Jared Portela, Eden Seal, Jerome Meyer, and Shari Elimerius. Thanks everyone.